let's now get some perspective, varying ones, of course, on the situation in the country, and perhaps let's look at where we need to take these issues that have taken the Nigerians that are protesting to the street. I'm being joined by Alhaji Jamiu Abiola, the son of MKO Abiola. He's a special assistant to the president on special duties in the office of the vice president, and also wrote the two democracy non-fiction bestsellers, The President Who Never Ruled and The Stolen Presidency, which is, of course, available for sale. Jamiu Abiola, thank you so much indeed for joining us tonight.
Thank you very much.
And I'm also being joined by Damilola Adenola, who is the... Damilare, apologies. Damilare Adenola, who is the Director Mobilization of the Take It Back movement, one of the organization who is promoting the End Bad Governance protest. And from our Lagos studio, he's an activist and a lawyer, Mr. Inibe Effiong. Thank you so much, Barrister Effiong, for joining us tonight.
Thank you for having me, Shaun. Thank you.
Yeah, indeed. So I think I should begin the conversation with you, Damila. You and your friends started this whole protest. And the question will be, have you achieved the objectives that you set out in the first place?
Well, I'd like to address your question by saying that myself and my friends didn't start this often. I've said them again and again that this is the idea of hungry Nigerians. This is the idea of deprived Nigerians. This is the idea of economically marginalized Nigerians. And for the question of objectives, the protesters, which I am part of, are yet to achieve the objective of our protests, which are stated in our Charter of Demands. But one thing we have been able to do is to make a strong statement and to send a strong message to the people in power, to see the capacity of what the masses, what people can do by way of protest, to see what the people are capable of if they are about to, express their displeasure. That was kick-started and it's ongoing, and we are waiting on the government to respond to us and address our demands. And until then, the protest continues.
From your own point of view, it does look like there is only one thing that you have achieved in this protest, and which is the fact that you are awoken some kind of consciousness in the Nigerian people, and you've gotten the attention of government. Is that all that you have achieved?
Well, I think we've been able to, make people see that they have the power to hold government accountable. And we've also made the government to, come to the consciousness that governance or government is meant for the interest of the people. And once the people are unable to benefit from your governance, then there's no sense for the continuation of such a government.
Are you being sponsored by any politician?
Well, I think that's, for me, I think that's a ridiculous way to denigrate the genuine agitation.
I'm asking a direct question. I'm not beating around the bush. I'm asking because there are direct allegations that the protests in some ways are being sponsored by politicians. So I'd like you to be able to open up to Nigerians to let them know that this is being sponsored in part or in whole by some politicians. Is it true?
For me, the sponsor of this protest, I've said and I'll say again, is hunger. It's economic inequality, economic deprivation of the larger percentage of the Nigerian people. Anything short of that should not be considered. What we should be considering is that, do people have a genuine reason to take over the street, to express their displeasure? Are people really hungry? I walked the town of the States today while protesting, and I saw the humongous queues at the filling stations, and I was appalled. These are reasons why people are poured on the streets across the nation protesting. There is unavailability of PMS. Look at everywhere in the country, there's darkness. Look at everywhere in the country, there's high cost of living. Everywhere in the country, transportation costs are surged. People are not living a good life.
So, and you heard the FCT minister who says there is a senator, a lawmaker, who is behind all of these? Is anybody buying you water, logistic money from all of the? Are you getting any kind of support?
The people themselves, in their benevolence, the people protesting in their benevolence, those who have done, some are the ones who provide for the less privileged at the protest ground. I don't think you should expect more from the Minister of the FCT, Mr. Wike, than mischief, because I think they've assessed the whole condition and that's their only way to bail themselves out by beginning to make mischievous comments, trying to, rather than address the main issue beating around the bush, you know, finding all means to denigrate the genuine agitation of the Nigerian people, rather than sitting down, inviting the people, rather than coming on the streets to speak with the Nigerian people. If these people in power, if they are really interested in the, social welfare of the people, by now the president ought to have come to the Abuja streets to address the young people who are genuinely agitating. And rather, what we have been seeing are reckless statements, flying up and down. We saw one this afternoon from the Chief of Army Staff who was subtly threatening Nigerian youths. We've seen several states in the country imposing curfew. These, for us, are insensitive approaches to the
I'll come to what you feel about the violence that have erupted and how some miscreants have now taken the opportunity of the protest to start looting government and private properties. But a question by Mr. Ebwade Boruwa, that he as the poser and the advisor is given, is your lawyer, and he said the protest should be called off after today.
He's not our lawyer. Ebwade Boruwa is not our lawyer. And he doesn't speak for us.
But you wrote on behalf of Take It Back movement to the IGP.
Yes, he might have presented himself as a solicitor, but he's not hungry, obviously.
Have you sacked him?
He's a senior advocate.
Have you sacked him?
He's a senior advocate.
You might employ a lawyer and sack him.
Mr. Ebun, he's a senior advocate of Nigeria who, lives well. He's not as hungry as common people who are taking over.
So you don't yield to that plea that you should call it off today?
No.
All right, just give me a moment. Let me speak to, and I'll come to you, Mr. Efeng Yenebe, just in a moment. Mr. Jamiu MK Abiola, son of MKO and Kudirat Abiola, it's good to have you.
Thank you.
You advise the government, you work for the government from the office of the Vice President on special duty. And in your books that you have written, try to flip through and get a sense of what your thoughts are about the presidency and what your father did and all whatnot. But when you see what is happening on the street of Nigeria today and the agitation on the minds of many Nigerians, what do you think is going on in our country and the way to fix it?
Well, what is happening in Nigeria goes on to prove that sometimes, it's easy to forget the past. At the end of the day, a lot of Nigerians, are looking at this president as any other president because, a lot of them have actually experienced broken promises from one president to another. So as far as they're concerned, anything that seems difficult is another broken promise. It's like somebody that has been in marriage like 5 times and always disappointed. Even if he marries a good person, he would think, any small thing he will be looking and trying to pick. But that's our job, is to let people know when we see that things are getting out of hand, we are going to come out. I will come out and let people know the truth from my own perspective. First of all, democracy was a very, very difficult fight. If you know what happened in Africa in the 80s, African leaders, those of them that actually even stepped down, that ruled for 20 years and they were like 70-something years old. I mean, this was a time in which people were very rich, very powerful. So the people that came out to fight for democracy are people that are actually exceptional. And where I'm going with this is the president that we have now is a different kind of president.
What makes him different?
He's a different kind of president because he's a president that believes in democracy. He's a president that believes in the common man. He's a president that loves the common man. And when I see all this that is happening, it's my job to remind people about who they are talking about. This man is Senator Bola Ahmed Tinubu, a man who could have actually left the democratic struggle but stood to fight for it, risking his life, risking everything he had. So he's not like the other people that have come and have disappointed. That is why he needs to be given time. He has the credit. It's like you in the United States, you have a good credit rating, you can apply to get a loan because they will look at your credit record and they will give you, as opposed to someone that doesn't have a good credit record. So this man has become the president in just 1 year and 2 months he has been serving. And a lot of things he has done has been unprecedented. And so that is why when people are getting agitated, I understand.
Unprecedented in the sense that if it's unprecedented, why are people on the streets?
People are on the street because, number one, it's like now, this is Channels. Do I work here? I don't. You work here, right? Let's assume that the owners of Channels say, I want Jami Abiola to become the managing director, and they put me to work here. And I come in here, and you tell me that this is how the books are, and this is how things are. And I come here and I make promises to people based on what you've told me. And then I come, I find another thing entirely, and I'm trying to work it out. And it will take like almost 2 years for you to start seeing the results. Should I be blamed for what other management people did or not?
Especially when you have promised that you asked for the job.
You asked for the job, but
the
at the end of the day,
the only person, don't pity me. I will get it done.
The only person, yes, and that's why he has 4 years. The only person that knows everything is God. He is the president of Nigeria. Since he has gotten there now, what has he been doing? I'll tell you some of the things he's been doing. Because people that are protesting, some of them have not really sat down to really think about what he has been doing. First of all,
those who are protesting are not being fair. Are they fair to the president?
No, they're emotional. But everybody can get emotional. And that's why I'm here, to also let them know some of the facts. And by the grace of God, when we now tell them some of the facts, a lot of them will say, oh, wow, how do you, that's where I'm going. First of all, we have a president that actually set up a fund to come and take care of people that are not, you have your NYC, you haven't gotten a job. The federal government, for the first time, is going to be giving you an allowance every month till you get a job. Once you have your NYC, that is something that the president is going to do. The other thing the president is going to do is that we have a program that we want to create 3 million jobs for people of high tech. 200,000 people have already benefited. This is not something that is a pipeline, something that is already happening. Rome wasn't built in a day. That one is already there. Then the president as well, they have like a subsidy removal loan scheme, which they've been giving out to a lot of families. 600,000 people have benefited 50,000. Of course, it's not enough, but it's a start. We have student loans. Whenever anybody tells the president that, oh, it could be done better, he is not proud. He will step down and he will always do it. So when people are protesting against somebody that is already doing what they're supposed to do, then it's like as if you are, it's like something, you want to break something that, you want to fix something that hasn't broken. It's already been broken before, but now he's working towards fixing it. The first book I wrote is called Realistic Hopes. I wrote that book 11 years ago. And the reason why I named it Realistic Hope is because I realized even back then that what actually makes people fail in life is that their hopes are never realistic. If you want to succeed, you have to have realistic hopes. This man came to a government that has been, so much has happened. Terrible things have happened in Nigeria.
Well, it's the same government of APC.
But when you say the same government of APC, government is government. Whether it's APC, whether it's PDP, Nigeria has been going, and you people remember what happened before the election. There was no petrol. You people remember the issue of the Naira design, all of these conspiracies, so that he wouldn't become president. So let us take a step back. 1 year and 2 months is not a long period of time.
So when do you think people should have gone to protest if the president wasn't performing?
First of all, people have a right to protest. It's in the Constitution. But what I want people to do as well is to take a look at what the president has been doing.
Is it a fault of the people that they've not seen? Well, or is it that the government is not communicating enough? What do you think is the problem?
Well, whether it is the fault of the people or what has happened, and now we're here to let people know that this president that you're looking at has a lot of wonderful plans for Nigeria. Look at this new Ministry of Livestock. You know what it's going to do? Do you know what the Livestock Ministry has done in Brazil? Do you know how that is enough to even transform Nigeria? The president is trying to solve this, cattle rearers, farmers problem that has been going on for a long time. Look at the issue of security. The president told the security agencies that all of you have to work together. And even recently, just 3 weeks ago, a whole family was kidnapped in Kaduna, but they all came together. And in less than a week, they freed the wife, they freed the children. So now the country is already going in the right path. So when all of these things are happening, it's as if somebody is trying to bring us back. It's like the people of Israel, when the Jews left, and now somebody wants to take them back to Egypt. This should not happen.
Do you think, for a moment, maybe there are conspiracies against the President Tinubu?
The truth of the matter is that there were always fears from the beginning that if this protest starts, some people might hijack it. And some people, unfortunately, they haven't gotten over the fact that God did not destine that they will win last year's election. So at the end of the day, some of these people, I'm not accusing him. I don't know him. I don't know what his mind is. Nobody has the right to accuse anybody. But there are some people who have a very, very sincere... The same people that worked against my dad and cancelled this election, do you think that they're going to want the person that was trying his best to support my dad to ever become president and to actually succeed? It's the same forces that we have, but by the grace of God, I believe in God. And I believe that whatever it is that is happening, a lot of people will come to realize that this is wrong. This man has so many... I just mentioned some of the... So many things. I can talk about it all day. This is what we do in the office. Even me on my own level, I've just signed an agreement with the NDLA. We've come up with Renewed Hope Resilience Initiative. What are we trying to do? We're trying to we're starting with 50, former drug addicts that were rehabilitated by NDLA. We're going to rehabilitate them in the vocational training. We're going to help them, not just with the profession, we're going to also help them with training. We're going to help them to put them we have so many plans in the food, in like a supply chain. And we're going to make them, these are the same people that would have been drug addicts and gotten involved in banditry, gotten involved in kidnapping. This government has wonderful plans. So Nigerians shouldn't be deceived.
So you're asking Nigerians to give this government a chance.
They should give the government a chance, and the reason why they should have realistic hopes. They should know that this government came at a time. Even the election is enough to tell Nigerians everything.
Your father ran to be the president of this country.
Yes, he did.
In one of elections, regarded or tagged as one of the freest and fairest in this country.
Of course.
Do you see Bola Tinubu in an MKO Abiola for some reasons?
Well, I'll tell you one thing, at the end of the day, everybody's different, But if you look at his own personal attitude, if you go to his house on a given day, he didn't even know he was going to become president. You will see people lining up the same way you see them lining up in my dad's house. A lot of people I meet up to today, they tell me stuff like, oh, your father did this for me, your father did that for me. A lot of people I meet, they tell me that, oh, Senator Bola Ahmed Tinubu did this for me, he did that for me. I see these similarities in those areas. And of course, they were both accountants. But I also see a conspiracy, as in like the same people that did not want my father to succeed, they also don't want him to succeed because of the fact that he supported my dad and he almost lost everything. But that's my own personal opinion. I'm not forcing my opinion.
And your father preached hope, and Bola Tinubu too is also preaching hope.
Yeah, preaching hope, because that's and even my book, Facebook I wrote, I called it Realistic Hope. Hope is the only thing. Even Barack Obama, his book was Audacity of Hope. Hope. Without hope, we cannot get anywhere. And there's no way we can keep having hope if we see people going
But when the hope looks like a dashed one and people think that what they wanted, they are not getting it. You don't think
I'll tell you what's so funny, when I was a kid, there was a hospital near my house. When they take me there, whenever I have malaria, they're going to give me an injection, I'll just run away. And they will drag me back, I'll run away again, then they'll finally hold me and they'll give me the injection. After 2 days, after the pain, I'll now be happy because I'll be playing around, I would have recovered. So sometimes for you, things to get better, they have to get tough. It's a test and it's from God. But you see, God is testing people, and it's not just in Nigeria.
So God,
in America,
there's a hand of God in all of this.
There's a hand of God in everything. Even in the United States.
Which part?
Even
the hardship?
Everything.
Or the protest?
The hardship, the
or
sweetness,
the president
everything you go
power.
through. The president coming to power was divine. What is happening is also, even in the United States, the highest level of inflation in the United States this year, it's never happened like that in the US before. The whole world, it's like, I don't know what's going on. I think God is really testing us, And I'll tell you this, we have to pass the test. When I see people looting and all of that, all in the name of protest, I say to myself that the person you are looting, you don't know what he has gone through to even open the shop.
All right. Let me pause it for a moment.
Yes.
Let's go to our Lagos studio where Mr. Inibe Efyong is with us. Give us an understanding. I saw pictures of you on the street in Lagos today. What is your own assessment of the success or otherwise of this protest?
Well, ordinarily, I would have just gone straight to answer your question, but I would like to respond to a few things Mr. Jamiu Abiola has said, and to remind Nigerians that in 2019, Mr. Jamiu Abiola told Nigerians that the then Buhari represented the vision of his father, and in fact told Nigerians to vote. He told Nigerians in 2019 to vote for Buhari to honor his father. In 2020, you can fact-check me on this, Jamiu Abiola, who is President Tinubu today, told Nigerians that Buhari had the same vision with his father. When Buhari left in 2023, thousands of Nigerians were slaughtered. The economy was nothing to write home about. The so-called wall against corruption was a complete flop. The entire country was in ruins. Tinubu came in, and even Tinubu has said he made Nigeria destroyed. At least people loyal to him are saying so. So I begin to wonder whether Buhari's legacy represents the vision of Abiola for Nigeria. I think that is the question Mr. Jamiu and his family should think about, because when he speaks in this manner, it is a desecration of the name of his father. And I'm saying that because I'm very upset about some of the things he has said. Now, regarding your question, I think Nigerians should no longer be taken for granted. We cannot continue to live in a country where we have leaders who do not listen to what the people are saying. People claim, oh, that the president is doing this, the president is listening. Mr. Sheun, this protest has lasted for 2 days now. Has President Tinubu spoken to Nigerians? I personally don't want him to address Nigerians. I want him to address the demands of Nigerians. It's not the same thing. But has he even addressed Nigerians? 48 hours after, dozens of over 12 Nigerians have been killed at a minimum. Has the president spoken? 48 hours after, has the government even said, okay, we want to talk? These are our representatives in the dialogue. Because people kept saying protesters should talk to the government. They said the protesters are faceless, they are leaderless. Who are the people that represent the face of the government if the conversation or dialogue is to take place? And what are the demands of the protesters? Because you say people should leave the streets, but have you listened to them? Have you listened to them? You have a president that has 48 ministers, Sheun, 48 ministers, the highest in the history of our country, at a time that the country does not have money to run and pay for basic services. If the president is serious, he shouldn't take Tinubu 1 hour to reduce the number of ministers to 87. Because constitutionally, every state is entitled to minister plus the FCT. There is no reason why Nigeria should have more than 37 ministers. So when the protesters say they need you to reduce the cost of governance, these are actions that can be taken under 24 hours. People say they want electoral reform. Sheun, you saw how the Akpabio Senate and the counterpart in the House of Reps convened to amend the Police Act to extend the tenure of the IG within 24 hours. Under 24 hours emergency session, they also passed an appropriation act. If the president is serious about addressing the protesters, by now the Federal Ministry of Justice would have come up with a draft bill to amend the Electoral Act and send it to the National Assembly to make electronic transmission of results mandatory under our law. This is one of the demands. If the president is serious, if the president is really serious, he would have addressed, right, other demands of the protesters, including economic policies that have been introduced, that have rendered Nigerians homeless, that have rendered Nigerians hungry. They told us on the 29th of May last year, Sheun, that the president has removed subsidy. We are aware from records that the last year, you can fact check me, about 3 trillion was paid for subsidy. Where is the fuel? We are still having queues. People cannot find it to buy. They have increased the cost of the electricity tariff. That has now made a mess of power in our country. So you continue to introduce policies that are subjugating people, and people are protesting. You haven't said anything to address it. You want to buy a new aircraft. You are building a new residence for Shetima, and you say there is no money. And you are saying that people should listen. Now Wike is coming out to make irresponsible statements. I'm not surprised. Nobody is surprised. The same Wike that was threatening people not to come out in the FCT, you are hearing what the governors are saying, because they claim that the president has given money to governors, right, to ameliorate the suffering of Nigerians. For me, that is just a largesse, because you are dealing with governors that are not accountable. There is no single House of Assembly in Nigeria today, out of the 36, not one, not in Lagos, not in Akwa Ibom, not in Zamfara, that can hold a governor accountable, not even one. All of them have become stooges of governors. Sheun, are you not aware that governors are still spending billions monthly, are still spending billions as running costs to buy new vehicles, to run their government houses on frivolous things? Sheun, we are dealing with a kleptomaniac political class in our country. We are dealing with people that have made up their minds to destroy our country. So how can the president be giving money to governors that nobody can hold accountable? And they claim they are distributing rice How many rice, how many families have received this rice? How many? They claim that they are going to reduce the cost of a bag of rice to 40,000. Maybe in the villa, they are selling it at that amount. In the markets in Lagos, I haven't seen that. So maybe it's in the Akpabio Senate that they are selling rice for 40,000. I've not seen it anywhere. So the point I am making, if you are really honest about engagement with the protesters, because it's not enough to say you want to engage. Are you really honest about it? Are you honest about it? I am excited that in Lagos, the situation is relatively calm. And that is because at our own level, we are also talking, advising the protesters to be calm. But guess what? Even as I speak to you, today we just secured the release of 12 people from Panti. The governor said it is peaceful. The CP said it is peaceful. People are still being arrested. In Calabar, protesters were arrested. So you have provocation all over the country. And the military is even issuing a statement to threaten Nigerians. So which one should we take? If the government is interested in dialogue, government talks are attacking protesters all over the country. If you are interested in dialogue, who do you want the protesters to talk to? And which of the demands are you willing to make? What concession has Tinubu made so far? None. In Kenya, that they keep making reference to. President,
if I may jump in quickly. Yeah, let me jump in quickly. Mr. Ebun Oluwadegborua, although Damilare has said that they fired Mr. Ebun Oluwadegborua as their lawyer, he said he's no longer their lawyer, but he has advised that the protest should be called off. Earlier on, I spoke with Mr. Paul Alaje, who says there are dire implications of the protest on our economy. In your own view, should we continue with this protest because of the implication on our lives? We are running a very tender economy that cannot afford non-productivity any longer. What is your view?
The problem of the economy, in my respectful view, is not the fact that businesses have been impacted in the last 2 days. The problem of the economy is that, as I said, we have a kleptomaniac, a criminal political class in our country that has basically subjugated the economy. Because before people went on protest, was the economy saving the interests of the Nigerian people? So, whether the protest should continue or not, it is in the hands of Mr. President. All these irresponsible comments that can you imagine them saying that it is those who lost elections?
What do you think that Mr. President should do? What are you expecting the president to do? How do you think that these protests can stop? Because it doesn't look like it's going to be in the interest of the country, and I'm imagining that the objectives and the effect that the protesters wanted has been established, except if I'm wrong. Can this protest continue? In your own view, how can it be stopped? What should the president do?
So, very simple. Very simple. Today, before we wake up tomorrow, I want to hear Mr. Tinubu announce to Nigerians that he has reduced the number of his ministers to 37. I want to hear Tinubu announce that the cost of governance, the cost of running the presidency has been cut by at least 50%. I want to hear the National Assembly and the President announce that the running cost of the National Assembly has been reduced by 50%. I want to hear Tinubu announce that the cost of fuel has been reduced, the electricity tariff has been reduced, that a bill has been sent to the National Assembly to make electronic transmission of results mandatory. I want to hear Tinubu announce that the recommendations of the NSAS panel has been implemented. Till date, since 2020, nobody has been held accountable. Nobody has been held accountable for the killings at the toll gate. People are still in detention. So you cannot say people should leave the street and you are provoking, because they keep asking who is provoking, what is leading to the protest. Apart from anger, those who are sponsoring this protest are people in government that are making irresponsible statements. If the Tinubu government is serious, there are things that can be done within 24 hours. Within 24 hours. How can our National Assembly members be receiving hardship allowance when Nigerians are barely looking for what to eat? Let all these things be abolished. Abolish the office of the First Lady. Abolish the office of the First Son. Abolish the office of the First Daughter. Nigerians will know that you are serious. They are not willing to do that.
But Mr. Effiong, there are, like, one of the questions Mr. Jami Abiola was raising earlier, it's too early in the day to blame President Bola Tinubu of some of the rot that has been in this government that is trying to fix. Is it possible, for example, that the promoters of the protest and some Nigerians will give Bola Tinubu a chance to maybe a bit more time, maybe when it's after 2 years, to see the benefit of the effort and the actions of his government? Is it possible?
I think these questions, with profound respect, are questions that answer themselves. The question of time, as far as I'm concerned, is irrelevant. Tinubu was the leader of the APC because they keep saying he met a rot. Who brought Nigeria to his knees? Buhari. Tinubu brought Buhari to power. At least he has said so publicly by himself. So he said Buhari's policies were his own policies. He endorsed his policies. And if Buhari had destroyed the country, how many people in Buhari's government has Tinubu's government arrested? Has the EFCC arrested? How many former governors have been put on trial? Where is Yahaya Bello? We are still looking for him. So they should stop saying that they made the country destroyed. The people that are serving in Tinubu's government today played role in Buhari's government. The chief of staff to the president was the speaker under Buhari. I can give you several examples. So this attempt to distance Tinubu from Buhari is simply an insult on Nigerians. If this president is serious, I have told you demonstrable actions that he can implement in 24 hours. And people will leave the streets. Nobody wants to protest for the fun of it. They are not doing that. They keep saying we made Nigeria destroyed. It was APC that destroyed Nigeria, and I'm happy they have admitted to it, but they must now repay the damage that they have done to this country. Because they told us they were going to bring change. Look at where we are, Shewun. Our new national minimum wage cannot buy a bag of rice. Is that not a scandal on the most populous nation, one of the largest producing countries in our country? And some governors are even saying they cannot implement it. And those are governors that Tinubu is giving pocket money to, because it is pocket money. How can Tinubu be giving pocket money to governors? Governors that cannot be held accountable, governors that have destroyed local government. What an irony. Tinubu, Attorney General, goes to court to say governors should stop stealing or diverting local government money. The same Tinubu is giving money to the same governors. Does that sound like a serious administration that is really listening to Nigerians? So the point I am making is that stop demonizing the protest. Pull out the military from the streets. Section 218 of our constitution is clear. The military is meant to protect the territorial integrity of our country and can only be called in aid of civil authorities when they are overwhelmed. The police is not overwhelmed. The Aide cannot tell us that it's overwhelmed. Stop the killing of protesters. Begin to talk to them. Begin to address their demands. People will naturally leave the streets. I have told you things they can do before tomorrow morning. The question is, will he do it?
Mr. Effiong, let me get Damlare's final thought. Are you stopping the protest tomorrow?
No.
You are going ahead.
The protest initially was slated for 10 days. And like we said, it was slated for 10 days, but may go beyond, depending on the response we get from the government. But it doesn't seem that we are dealing with a responsible government. So the government should expect it to go beyond 10 days. If our demands, if our concerns are not addressed, the protest will span for more than 10 days.
Mr. Abiola, what would be your final thought tonight on the program? Going forward.
My final thought is that it was very emotional, and it's not the way to go about it. We're trying to resolve issues, not for getting emotional and getting angry. This is something that can be resolved. This is the rule of law country. We have a president that was elected and for a 4-year period, and definitely there are some hardships, and he himself has said it over and over again. And as I told you before, there are a lot of palliative measures he has done. I mentioned to you the youth empowerment scheme. I mentioned to you the 3 million jobs for the youth, which is technical jobs. I also mentioned to you the strategic reserve, 40,000, 42,000 grains of rice, and a lot of things. These things take time. So please, we should be patient, and we shouldn't get insultive, and we shouldn't get emotional. We're not going to help matters.
All right. Mr. Effiong, I just have about 30 seconds for your final thought. What's your final thought? What's the way forward?
That this is your turn. Was it your turn to redeem Nigeria or to further destroy Nigeria? When you go to bed this night, if you are listening to me, please answer that question. One day you will leave that office. What do you want Nigerians to remember you for? What would the Tinubu legacy be? This is a golden opportunity that you have. Nobody is coming to Aso Rock to remove you. I have not heard that as part of the demands of the protesters. But you have a unique opportunity in history to reset this country for the better. Stop listening to sycophants. Stop listening to those that are cheering you on. The country is on its knees. Reverse course. Stop these wastages and change the face of our country, and posterity will remember you. But if you don't do this, history will judge you very harshly. That is what I can say.
Mibe Effiong is a lawyer, is a right activist. Thank you so much. He's speaking with us from our Lagos studio. And Damilare Aide, who is a director of mobilization of the Take It Back movement. one of the promoters of the nationwide August protest. And of course, Alhaji Jamiu Abiola, the son of MKO and Kudirat Abiola. Thank you so much. He works from the office of the Vice President, advising the President on special duty. Thanks so much indeed for your time.